That's exciting to have the number one rapper, when he's the number one rapper, headline the Super Bowl halftime show is incredible.
This was not an album made to be embraced by country. If that was the case, it would sound very, very different.
All right, what's up, fellas?
What's cracking?
It's been a busy set of weeks for us in particular here at Billboard. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you check out all across our socials, the website. We had our R&B Hip Hop Power Players event coming through last weekend, multi-day event. We had Power Players itself honoring the biggest executives and movers and shakers in the R&B and hip hop world. We had a concert on Friday with Big X the Plug, Boss Man D-Lo, Tizo Touchdown out there.
Who killed it? I just gotta say, I thought Tizo was gonna do well, but when he came out with the LL Cool J fit, I was like, this motherfucker's on some other shit.
That
was dope.
Tizo was ready to, be that sort of performing rock star. Like you can tell it's definitely part of the DNA code for him.
It's always funny when people are like realize that he's like 31, but I'm like, just look at the references that he pulls from. You can tell that he's like not a kid.
This is true.
But it's great. I love it. That LL Cool J fit was amazing.
Yeah, we had Tizo come through on Friday. We had an R&B specific event on Sunday, which had Usher, Entertainer of the Year. We had Tyla out there. We had Victoria Monet. We had
Lucky Day
getting the Thank You to Torchbearer Award, an icon salute for Luther Vandross. So really a range of, different cats and different generations. That was great to see. And Kyle out there at the VMAs last night. So there was just... this has just been sort of a non-stop parade. So, again, check out that stuff on Billboard.com, all our socials. And that was just like the tip of the iceberg because there was so much happening outside the Billboard space. We got to, of course, run it down. Let's talk about the biggest news over the weekend. Really, probably the most controversial Super Bowl announcement we've seen in
for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, which is it's funny because it's, of course, not about who was selected. That there was really no problem with that. To
some people, there's some problem with that.
Well, it sort of ties in. So let's jump right into it. Of course, first topic is the Super Bowl halftime show, which will be next February in New Orleans. Over the weekend, it was announced that Kendrick Lamar is going to be headlining the halftime show, which obviously he's been on the wish list for a long time. People are really excited about that. So we'll start there. When you guys, how do you feel about Kendrick being selected? If it's one of those things that obviously he's on the short list, people always kind of think that it just may never happen. He may never be interested in it. So when the news dropped, Kendrick is going to be the one. What did y'all think?
I was on the way to brunch when I got a notification on my phone, and I almost dropped my phone on the sidewalk. I was so freaking excited. I've always wanted Kendrick to do the Super Bowl, and then after he made that guest appearance at the Dr. Dre curated one, I was like, I would love to see his full vision for an entire 13, 15-minute set. And now he has a momentum to go and just make this another career-defining performance for himself. He's one of our greatest performers, and I'm just excited to see him on the stage. We can get into the controversy afterwards, but for me, there was absolutely no controversy. I feel like even without the string of records this year, I would have loved to see him hit the stage. He has the catalog, he has the ability, and if there was someone that I trust to be our first solo rap headliner, it's absolutely Kendrick Lamar.
Dang.
Yeah, straight up. I mean, it's amazing and fun to have an artist who is in the midst of their peak headline the Super Bowl from a rap perspective. We've never had that. We've never had a rapper who is, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg were great, and Eminem and 50 Cent. It was great to have them on stage, Mary J. Blige, but their peaks were like 25 years ago, at least. Kendrick had a number one song this year. He's had one of the most exciting years of his career this year. Yeah, it's dope. It's dope to have it feel so current and have us anticipate it in that way. Usually it's like, oh, you're gonna have Prince do the Super Bowl. It's like, oh, that's dope. Can't wait to see what Prince does. I love Prince.
But it's gonna be a bunch
of
catalog,
it's like, oh, I hope he does,
and,
these songs. Whereas Kendrick, it's like, oh, is he gonna do we don't know what he's gonna do. He could do anything. He's literally in album mode. He is, I'll say, the number one rapper right now. I think he's proven that to be the truth.
Yes.
I say you better say
yes,
it.
I think
he's
he's
gonna drop a
proven
record
that
about
to-
you.
100
be-
gigs or 200 gigs, ain't nobody give a fuck.
So that's exciting to have the number one rapper. When he's the number one rapper, headline the Super Bowl halftime show is incredible. So shout out to the NFL and
Whoa!
shout out to, I don't it's like
That's real, though.
it's like
It
Jay
hurt
Z.
to- it hurt him
it's
to
like
say it.
Jay Z. I'm sure Rock Nation had a huge hand in this. The string of people they've had headline the Super Bowl over the past few years has been insane. I'm pretty sure next year it's going to be like straight country music.
He said a backlash is coming.
And
Don't you worry.
And not Shabuzi. It's going to be like straight Morgan Wallen, Zach Bryan.
I could do it a Zach Bryan show. I don't know.
Miley. I could see that happening.
He said
next
Miley
year.
gonna get back to twang.
You know, I love me some Miley.
But it's dope. It's dope to see, and it's like say what you want. We can say a lot of things about the NFL. A lot of them are true, but this is very surprising, and I'm glad they picked Kendrick.
One thing you mentioned, of course, is in album mode. We've heard a lot recently. It's always bubbling up that a new album is supposed to be on the way. I mean, it's only sort of helps give credence to that theory. Whether it's gonna be, I don't know. Now the question is like when would he drop it? Because you don't really debut new stuff at the Super Bowl because it's supposed to be in theory you would hope it's a concert. Everybody kind of knows all the words. We're not really trying to stand there and be like assessing a song in real time. So
Did Usher do new? No,
he did not
right?
do new music, but he dropped the album 2 days before or 2 days after.
Yeah, it was the Friday
that week?
before the Super Bowl.
Right,
and we've seen, between like what Usher did, and obviously that got him, one of the biggest albums that he's had in a long time.
But he didn't do any of the new songs.
No, I mean, I think people, if anything, Good was already out, so maybe people
yes.
thought he might throw that in, but just maybe the tempo, the vibe didn't find its way. Obviously, Beyonce, dropping Texas Hold'em during the Super Bowl led to a huge debut there. So
she did debut Formation at a Super Bowl.
It was also like 2 days. Yeah, she dropped it 2 days before that fake YouTube.
Oh yeah.
And then everyone, which is kind of just
that's
proved
true.
how quickly everybody could learn a song in 36
and
hours.
choreography.
That's a hell of a song to drop at the Super Bowl.
So it's kind of like maybe Kendrick drops it. Does he drop it right around the Super Bowl time, kind of capitalize on that audience like we saw with B and Usher, and just.
I mean, we haven't had a rap album sell 1 million in a week in a long time. I think this might be the one that does it.
Yeah.
I think this is like
as good a shot as anybody's.
This is going to be the album that might fuck around and break a record or some shit. Like everybody is anticipating this. This is going to be a huge album. If he drops it anywhere close to this, it's a wrap. Especially because the Grammys are like the week after.
Yeah, usually
Before, I think.
always in
Bro,
conjunction. Yeah.
Imagine that week.
Oh, I'm gonna be so teed,
Imagine,
man.
imagine a new Kendrick album, Super Bowl, and a Grammy win.
I was gonna say 'cause
Grammy
everybody's-
sweep, most likely. Like he got a lot of stuff eligible. He got Like That. He got Euphoria. He got Not Like Us. Those are all.
I mean, you can't
contenders.
Really, can you really sweep it out an album? But I know
It's just
for me,
one
I know
category.
I
You
mean,
could get like
he could win all
3,
this.
He could.
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
5,
I
depending
mean-
on record and song.
I think this
Yo,
might
he
be-
could
if
fight.
won a record of the year.
Listen, we need another hip hop song that's not fucking This Is America to have a record of the year
Very
Grammy.
true.
So please let it be one of those.
Sorry,
Like,
Donald.
I ain't sorry.
If not Like Us wins, man.
Just when you think this
Man.
story couldn't get any,
Man.
imagine that open, I don't know, Barbara Streisand opens that envelope, whoever, and it's like,
Streisand.
not like, Toronto will just fall into the sea.
Man.
It'd be so beautiful. I can't wait for it. Hurry
Yeah,
up,
that's
February.
gonna be a crazy week
Yeah.
if he does. I think he's gonna. I think it just makes too much sense. I know Kendrick and PG like to be very subversive, and they like to be surprising. But how can you not take advantage of this?
I will say this sounds kind of similar to what we were saying around the pop out, and then that didn't come with new music either. I think the video might have come around ish
Well, it was like
that time, or
2 weeks
like
later,
2
4th of
weeks
July,
later.
yeah.
So it's like obviously a pop out versus Super Bowl, 2 massively different scales.
Yeah.
But Kendrick isn't afraid to just kind of bask in a moment and not necessarily attach it to new stuff. So.
I mean, we saw clearly with Rihanna a couple years ago. Everybody thought that meant something's coming. It's gotta come. It's gotta
and
come.
she promoted Fenty Beauty during the performance.
And yes, right. That's what you got.
I think the difference here is that we know that
Kendrick cooking.
we don't expect Rihanna to be finished with this album, although we would love for it to be finished. But Kendrick is very clearly he's still in the throes of his dominance in rap, he's still the guy. He very clearly still like relishes being on top, or he wouldn't care about any of the shit he just did. So I have to imagine that he's working on something. If the rumor is true that his albums work on sort of a TikTok thing where like the last album was very introspective and not commercial, that this album is going to be the one that's like boom and is more like damn, then what better time to just fuck shit up
when you got a mass audience
have the
ready
world
to
listening
digest
to
that
you.
shit. Yeah.
What about a tour? I feel like he could announce a tour. People do that also.
Yeah.
With
I mean, he
the
could do the
commercials
whole
and stuff.
gambit, sort of.
Because I
album
think
here,
back
tour
to
here. Let's run
I
this
want a
shit.
rap album to sell 1 million, and I think this would be the thing that does it. I think it might do well whenever he drops it, but man, it would be incredible to see the reaction. If it would just feel good to be excited and to just see all that happen and just be like, oh, this is incredible. I just like long for that feeling as a rap fan.
I
So
long
hope
for
he
the
does it.
feeling of watching the Drake fan scramble if it does sell 1 million first
Yeah.
week, since sales are their big anchor for their arguments for their guy. If Kendrick ends up selling on a Drake level, I think Drake was the last one to do 1 million with a rap album.
Yep.
So
Yeah, 1 million units.
very poetic.
Views,
Yeah.
Okay, quick flash poll. Does he do Not Like Us? People are not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I just don't think he does it in the way people are expecting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think
Yeah.
he's going to do the whole, like, Certified Lover Boy bit like that, obviously. But if we go the entire set without even a hint of the instrumental, like, I would bet, like, my house on that.
Yeah.
I just don't
He
see
might not
that
do like the
happening.
whole song, but he definitely will do like the intro, like the intro, like whatever the strings or whatever,
Yeah.
and then might like allude to it and then go into something else, like tease everybody, get everybody super excited, and then go into another song.
You're going to hear the whole crowd. Oh.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he just hit that pause and like, gotcha, or whatever.
Like remember when Michael Jackson came out and he just stood there for like
Ever.
Like a statue.
Yeah. I think Kendrick might do that.
If you did that today, that'd be like half the set. Is like,
Yeah.
dog, come on.
Like
it's-
imagine Kendrick just like plays like the first part of the instrumental and just like stands there.
I mean, the
Oh
crowd.
my
Well, we saw
God.
the pop out. The
Oh
crowd
my
would fill it
God.
in. all the way to the
He's
A
like
minor.
turns the
and-
mic over to the crowd.
Yo, it would be.
Too good.
That'd be great.
Okay, well, of course, we'll stay tuned to see if Kyle is homeless. Betting his house on that.
Whew.
And obviously, a long way to go to Super Bowl. So, any updates, any things we hear, of course, we'll keep everybody attuned to that. So, Kendrick, obviously, the lead story there, going about who is going to be at the Super Bowl. Very swiftly, a lot of conversation about who is not going to be at the Super Bowl. Of course, it's being hosted in New Orleans, so a lot of people expected Lil Wayne to get the call, hoping that he would be able to put the city on. The internet has really blown up over that. We've seen not only, of course, plenty of fans, plenty of Wheezy stands, New Orleans advocates, but artists too. Nicki Minaj has been out there. We saw Birdman tweet about it. We saw some engineers and folks that have worked with Wayne over the years. So not just,
The
everybody.
engineer post was like so weird. It was so like the response was confusing to me for a number of reasons, but that engineer's post was like, this is the last time we will let other people decide our fate. And it's like, bro, this guy is like a 35-year veteran of rap. Was the most popular rapper in the world, artist in the world for like a 5-year stretch. He's sold 1 million in a week twice. He's one of the most famous people ever. Like, what do you like? They're acting like he's this like rising artist that got snubbed out, and it's like, bro, this is Lil Wayne. Like, there's no world in which Lil Wayne is like. I just didn't believe that they were acting as if like we were like harming Lil Wayne's career and we're like not giving him his flowers. It's like, yo, Lil Wayne.
The argument just felt so disingenuous from
Oh,
the
man.
jump because, like, no one has explained to me at this point, like, where the expectation came from that it had to be a hometown
It was 1 year.
star. Like, that
Well, we
just
did it once.
happened
But it seems-
once.
We
Yeah,
did it
right.
once.
But I think that's
And
the
also,
thing.
the idea was, like, it was Dr. Dre curating the thing. Like, Mary J. Blige is not from L.A.
West Coast, yeah.
Like,
50 Cent.
neither is
Eminem
50
is
Cent,
not-
neither, like, that's 3 out of
Eminem.
5. That's
Yeah.
the majority of the set.
50 Cent,
Like,
Eminem, Mary J. Blige.
Literally all
What are-
Midwest,
like,
East Coast.
you
And
can think
proud.
back to all of the most memorable ones over the past 15 years. They almost have never synced up with the artist's hometown being where the Super Bowl is hosted, mostly because of where the Super Bowl is normally hosted.
Yeah.
Like, you don't be having Super Bowls in like North Dakota or shit like that.
Yeah.
Like there's a set number of stadiums that we rotate between.
You say Sexy Red never getting to
Wisconsin.
St. Louis,
Like,
then
what are we
Chicago,
talking
off,
about?
Michigan ain't. Yeah.
And just
The
treating
Green Bay.
Wayne like he's some Make-A-Wish kid. Like this is somebody who's like I was just on our Greatest Pop Stars podcast for him.
Yeah.
Let
Like
it go. Let it
this is somebody who is one of the most legendary and iconic artists across popular music.
Yeah.
Yes, he deserves a Super Bowl set. He will likely get one. I don't understand why. Like, I wonder if Kendrick wasn't announced as a pick, is there that much groundswell support for it to be Wayne?
No, bro.
Instead? And
This
it's
whole
like
shit felt like coordinated.
coordinated as hell. I was
Like-
just like, why can we be happy that we have a solo rap headliner after all these years? Period.
Like Nicki being like, how like you're gonna like, I forgot the exact words, but she said something to the effect of, how could you do this to a
yeah,
black,
like-
young, like a black
Mind
man,
you, she
yeah.
only ever brings up race when it's like other black people also getting their flowers. Like Kendrick changed races or something. Did I miss that?
Not-
like
not-
is he not a younger black man
Yeah.
than Wayne is? Like worry about figuring out a new day for that Pink Friday 2 Deluxe Gag City, whatever the hell it is. Because the Ranson
Let me
stuff.
sit over here real quick for that. You know,
Like,
before
man,
they drop a
It,
truck.
it was
Gosh.
ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. It felt so disingenuous and coordinated that it was like laughable to a point. And like I think like the larger outrage was like just like a domino effect. I think people were just outraged because other people were outraged, because then it got to the point where people were like, Lil Wayne can't even do a Super Bowl set. I was like, it was 15 fucking minutes. Of course Lil Wayne could do a Super Bowl set. The motherfucker has days, months of music. Like,
Well, but it wasn't the hits they were talking about. They were talking about like they were worried about the performance.
and I
quality.
think even
Sure, which
even
is
with that
like-
argument, like Super Bowl's in February, it's currently September. He locks in and just like rehearses and gets relatively like cleaned up for it. He can do it.
this is a guy
Like,
who lived on the road.
he like
Lived
he has
on the
the
road.
ability. He has the hits. He has everything. Yes, it's just the paperwork is signed. The ads are airing. Like, what is there to really argue about? Because at the end of the day, Kendrick is taking the stage, and it would be awesome if Kendrick like put a hand out and was like, "Hey, I want to have Wayne as a guest for my set."
Sure.
If that even happens, like for me, that moment is already dampened because of all of the childishness that's been going on for the past
Yeah.
2-3 days.
Do you think it's gonna be like a handout kind of look, or
I don't even think it would be a handout. I would just think I would be not as
It would make him
surprised. Like,
look
it wouldn't be
more
as
like a charity
fun.
case.
Exactly. And it's just like, nah, he's Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Like,
but y'all don't think like so? People are resurfacing that interview he did on YG's podcast that a couple years ago, where Wayne was very vocally like, "I haven't gotten the call, but I would love to." Like, you know, it's about legacy, not necessarily who has the hit record right now. And then to another point about that, you know, of course, it's New Orleans. A lot of people are pointing out there will be so many more Super Bowls in Los Angeles. I think even next year on the docket that people
San
feel
Francisco-
like
San Francisco.
okay,
Yeah.
California, but people are like, yo, you know, like Kendrick would have had his turn. I think to the point, especially
Kendrick's not
you
from
know,
San
the
Francisco.
don't
well, but he's from,
care.
but he's from, he from
all
Oakland. He
location
definitely, you
and
know,
a hometown arguments got to go out the
you
window.
know he's
Those
not
are
from New
not
Orleans.
valid arguments.
There's two things. One, it's never been a prerequisite for someone to get chosen from the city that they live in.
Shakira
That's-
did the Super Bowl.
I mean-
Rihanna did the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
These
but-
are not even American like, well, maybe
But
they're
you-
citizens,
okay.
but they're not American. Like, what?
But you don't think when you know the committee sat there and looked at it, and by the way, we should point out as well, a lot of people, you know, mad at whoever behind the scenes, the host city does have a say,
Oh.
considerable sway in it. But people are saying like, there's no way you look at the Super Bowl being in New Orleans and not think Wayne. Like when you see New Orleans, who could headline a halftime
I mean,
show?
it's also like Master P. No, like there's like a bunch of people
Juvenile,
who you can
like-
think of. Like Cash Money would be great. No one is saying that a Lil Wayne Super Bowl or a Cash Money Super Bowl halftime show would not be good. No one is saying that. The idea that we need to pick someone from New Orleans to headline the Super Bowl halftime show is just ridiculous. It's never happened before. It happened. I mean, it's happened once, but that was like a thing where Dre had to bring 5 other superstars to do it with him. Like it wasn't like, oh, Dre, just go do the Chronic. It was like, nah, bro, you need to bring like other multi-platinum legendary artists with you.
But y'all not gonna show no love to the thought that, you know, I guess back to Engineer's Post, you know, the South feels like still to this day doesn't get the respect of East and West. Kendrick has a whole West Coast show dedicated to West Coast, showing him off. Pop Out was great. The South can't get his moment.
Lil Wayne could throw his
No,
own show.
yeah, no one
Lil
did
Wayne
the
could throw a
pop out for
concert.
Kendrick. Kendrick threw the pop out for himself.
Lil Wayne could
in
throw
his
a
city.
concert right now, and
Do
it
it.
would be great.
Doesn't he not have like Louisiana Fest coming
Yeah,
up? Like that.
What you know
has
is
a
not the
reunion?
Super Bowl.
That's the equivalent to a pop out, is it
Bro,
not?
Lil Wayne will get the Super Bowl. Also, it's Lil Wayne. Like, we're acting as if, I know he's a different artist now. He's a different person now. But, like, Lil Wayne is quite literally, if you listen to the music, not the safest brand to have on stage at the Super Bowl. Like, Snoop Dogg was on trial for murder in the 90s. We all remember this. He's a chronic weed smoker. He brought two women on leashes to an award show once. He has so thoroughly washed his image that is like,
Now you hanging out with Billie Jean at the
he
Olympics.
seems like a completely new person now. I don't think Lil Wayne has like done that to that extent, but he's still like super close to that image, and I can see the NFL looking at that and being like, oh, I don't know.
You're a little uncomfortable with
Yeah,
it.
like I don't know if this is the guy we want to trust with the Super Bowl halftime show. Not that I'm saying that's the right decision. I'm saying I can see the NFL looking at Lil Wayne and being like, I don't know if the guy who raps about eating pussy, taking drugs, and gangbanging is the guy we want to trust with this.
Okay. All right.
I feel the funniest part of the whole thing for me was like this forced Young Money like realignment that happens every 4
Yeah,
years.
like, where
or
were y'all
so.
when Drake was getting
Yo,
murdered?
It's like y'all
2 months ago.
forget that y'all kind of like each other, and then like every 4 or 5 years, just like
Well, somebody attacks
here's
the
the three of us on
family.
a song, or here's this, here's that.
I mean, that's not true. Drake was fighting for his life 2 months
Drake was
ago. I
fighting
didn't
for
hear
his
a
life.
word.
Nicki was
mean,
fighting
that's
for her
true.
life just 2 months before that. Ain't nothing happened.
Well, they sent out the bird call. I guess
I didn't hear a
everybody,
word. Lil Wayne will get his
If
Super
y'all
Bowl
was a
call.
family, I would have told you to not put out Bigfoot. If y'all was a family, I would have told them to stop with the freaking gigs. But y'all's not a family. Like,
Lil Wayne will get his Super Bowl call. It will happen. I'll bet my house on that. That he will.
Damn,
he
everybody.
will. Lil Wayne will headline a Super Bowl halftime show. He will. It's just he's too big of an artist not to get that call. But also, like, look at other people who also haven't gotten that call. Kanye's never done a Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah, that ship has sailed.
But like,
and for the record, you could get the call and you do have to say yes. And stuff does have to align. And stuff like, we don't know what schedules were looking like or anything like that. Has Wayne himself said anything since the announcement?
No, everybody's
Like, for
sort of
all
talking
we know,
for
we
him.
really don't know anything. Like, the man could have been offered and maybe he couldn't make it happen this particular year. Like, we really don't know.
Yeah, but I'm sure he would.
And, like,
I imagine he would have said that to kind of quell the.
I imagine he would have said anything.
yeah, something.
Well.
especially everyone going at Jay-Z.
Like,
That's true.
like-
yeah.
we're about to have like a whole ass like Young Money versus Rock Nation like crash out right now, and he still hasn't said anything. So it's like,
Not
Everyone's
Marvel
shitting on
versus-
Jay-Z
you said
and
Marvel versus Capcom.
Jay-Z is the
That's
one,
crazy.
who, as far as we know, publicly has a lot of love for Lil Wayne. Even Lil Wayne has gone out in public and said, "This is the man who helped me with my
The
taxes.
taxes,
go.
yeah.
He helped me
million.
get out of my deal.
Yeah.
He tried to sign me, and Birdman said no. Birdman's out here being like, on Gladys, I'm gonna fix this, and it's like, bro, you're the one who signed this guy to a predatory deal that Jay-Z had to get him out of.
I mean,
talking about putting on
That's-
Miss Gladys.
that's facts.
Leave Miss Gladys.
Like, leave Miss
alone.
Gladys out of this, bro.
She tired.
Mama Gladys.
Like, it's just the whole thing's ridiculous. Like, people blaming Jay-Z, and it's like, bro, we've had the blackest Super Bowl halftime shows we've ever had. Like, we should be very thankful. We should be thanking Jay-Z that we even have Kendrick to do this. Because, like, it's 2024, and he's the first solo rap artist.
People's memories are
Well,
too
to
short.
do
It's
this.
like, it wasn't that long ago that we were all like, damn, we just are not getting halftime headliners that reflect the current state of music
Right.
in America or our culture. And now we have had it for the past 6 years. And because it's not to what everybody individually wants, we're ready to just throw it all at risk and just dance along to Taylor Swift for the next 7 years? I don't understand.
I mean, look, the whole Jay-Z situation, Nicki talking about, and nigga took a bag and nigga took a knee. Didn't say the name, but everyone's alluding to that. So
she was funny when she was like, "Oh, I tried to tell y'all, but y'all wanted brunch instead."
Yeah,
that was very funny.
He said, he ate with that one. He ate with
that one thing.
Roger Goodell's probably looking at all this like, I told y'all. I told y'all.
Look,
he's like, I know who I'm calling next year.
He said, we'll get this out the way now. Obviously, still 4 months till Super Bowl. I'm sure everyone, by the time we get there, is going to be excited for it. I'm sure this is a topic that will be.
No one's going to remember any of this by the time it happens.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
So, all right, we'll see what goes forward with Super Bowl. Another big story this weekend, coming through the top of the week, actually. Beyoncé and the Country Music Association Awards. The nominees came out this week. Obviously, the biggest country music award show in Nashville. Look at the nominees list. You will not see Beyoncé Knowles anywhere. Cowboy Carter, all the singles. 0 nominations for the week. The year. So a lot of people, of course, wondering what Beyoncé has to do. Why she would be not accepted after having one of the biggest country albums of the year with Cowboy Carter. Of course, Texas Hold'em, a huge single on the Hot 100, Hot Country Songs chart, making history. First black woman to top all those charts. You just got to ask at this point is, why? Why is Beyonce not being accepted? Is there a reason that we're not thinking of, or is it just as plain as, as the case may be?
Yeah, there are a couple stories within this story, and I think the big one is that how the question is being framed. Like, is it, what does she have to do to be accepted? I think if we're asking that question, we're missing the point of what Cowboy Carter was in general. I think if Beyonce wanted to
speak on it, brother Kyle.
She could have gotten CMA nominations.
What Oregon?
She would have just dropped a traditional Nashville-made 12-track country album. No hip-hop stuff, no R&B stuff, no none of that. It would have just been like 12 Protectors, recorded with Nashville songwriters, Nashville producers, in the heart of the machine, show up to a couple events, rub some shoulders. She's 30 years in. She knows what the deal is for awards and stuff like that. That is not what Cowboy Carter is. A third of the album is staunchly R&B. This album is not just traditional country. It's all kinds of country music. It's all kinds of acoustic sounds. It's all kinds of Americana influences. It's a huge hodgepodge of sounds and stuff. I never expected the album itself to get nominated. And due to the fact that in comparison to someone like Post Malone, who really linked himself up with Nashville people, like the entire album is loaded up with country sweethearts. Like, it's recorded in Nashville. Yeah. He was at the ACMs earlier. Like, he was doing the circuit. He was at Stagecoach, not with Vans promoting his album cover, but performing at Stagecoach a set of country covers. Like, he played the game, and that's why he ended up with this many nominations.
I forgot.
Now, on the other hand, they made a statement because Texas Hold'em is undoubtedly a country song that was a country hit. It not being anywhere, crazy. Not even a Female Vocalist of the Year nomination, absolutely crazy. Not even a Musical Event of the Year, an award that Old Town Road won. There were 4 songs on Cowboy Carter that could have got a nomination for that. Like, not Two Most Wanted, not the Post Malone collab, not Blackbird with the 4 other black women in country.
Yeah,
like, that's a statement from them that we're not about to give you any love at all. I think the bigger story from me from the nominations was I felt Shabuti should have gotten even more. It felt like they gave him where they couldn't ignore him. I think him not getting any recognition for his album or for the songwriting of a bar song is stupid. I think he should have gotten at least 2 more nominations in addition to the 2 that he did get. And I think the girls from Blackbird, who all put out music of their own this year, should have gotten some kind of recognition. It's ridiculous that in a year where Black country had such a breakthrough, there were just 2 Black recording artists nominated across the board. The Warren Treaty and Shabuzi. It's stupid. Like, there's no way we couldn't have found some love for a Tanner Adele or a Tierra Kennedy or a Raina Roberts or a Brittany Spencer, who had a fantastic album at the top of this year and had already had her own inroads in the Nashville machine before Cowboy Carter. That, to me, is what the bigger story is, because if Beyonce wanted nominations, she knows what to do to get these nominations. She's not new to this. And it's also like, if you watched or kept track of her moves this past week, I think it was clear that she knew that she wasn't going to get nominated, because the day before, she drops her Sacred Wash Day video. The day after, we get her most sprawling interview in years, where she's talking about not just her business stuff, but also music stuff. She doesn't do much press. Those things came right at the beginning and end of the news cycle for CMA Day. And then on top of that, it's just like her mission for this album was to help platform these younger artists. And through that, we get Shabuzi with the 9-week #1 single. Like, we get Shabuzi getting 2 nominations. Like, we get Tanner Adele at the BET Awards. That was the purpose of this album. If the purpose of this album was for Beyonce to be accepted as a country artist, we're having the wrong conversation. And I guess to close off, like, the album still rides regardless. But I do find it funny that they tried to make parameters about, like, what's country and what's not. And I'm like, some of the songs that were nominated and albums, quite pop, but another conversation.
Yeah, we had a story go on Billboard.com to try to, sort of dissect what happened. Maybe it was a question of submissions and all this kind of stuff. And I thought it was interesting. There was a quote from an unnamed executive who, didn't want to go on the record, but said that they felt that she didn't embrace the genre and I'm still trying to sort of figure out what that means. Obviously, like, to your point about, was it the fact that, Post Malone, like, just compare to Post Malone, who did get plenty of nominations, that he was out there, he was working with, the album has the guest list is really like a who's who of
everyone.
2020's country.
It's the Twister soundtrack on steroids, basically, before a studio album.
It really is like a country duet. I think it's like maybe 2 or 3 songs that are just Post Malone. So, and obviously, like, that's what Post wanted to create. So he went out and did that, and it's clearly working. But I'm just curious
because I don't think he meant embrace the genre. I think he meant embrace the game, because in his head, the game and the genre are intertwined. But it's like, Cowboy Carter is the most fearless embrace of all of country music's history out of any of the releases this year. Is it an embrace of the game? No, it's a outright rejection of the game. You're looping in artists, whether on the country side, who haven't gotten their just due because they're women, or because they're black, or because they're black women, or you're tapping in, artists like a Miley Cyrus who have really deep Southern country roots. You hear it in her voice all the time, but you don't necessarily get country stuff from Miley all the time. But you have that Dolly Parton connection, so you're getting that pop audience in also. It's a rejection of the game, but an embrace of the genre. But for a lot of minds that are, the traditional Nashville country machine, those two things are inseparable. And it's like, they're actually completely separate. And that's what this album kind of proved to me.
Pretty ironic, too, that if you sort of look back at the entire arc of what Cowboy Carter is, of course, she's never said explicitly, but it's largely assumed that it was the CMAs back in 2016 rather, when she did Daddy Lessons with the Chicks who were there. Obviously, that song in itself already a little controversial, because people, the most country-leaning cut on Lemonade, but there was a lot of debate about that song, whether it's actually country or not. Grammy submission seems to come out that they submitted it, was rejected by the committee. And the whole Cowboy Carter era seemed to have been born out of that moment at that performance. Alan Jackson walks out. And so, here we are all these years later with the album that was born out of that experience at that very show. And again,
But that explains it all. It's like, no, this awards institution is not about to reward an album that is basically a permanent commemoration of the time at their 50th anniversary when the biggest R&B and pop star brought out a country act that was excommunicated from the genre for their rejection of Bush's politics. You bring them out on stage to perform this crossover country hit. You end up like taking stuff off the website in the 24 hours afterwards. Why in the hell would they ever award an album like this from this person, whether it's 6 years later or 60 years later? They don't have a good relationship. This was not an album made to be embraced by country. If that was the case, it would sound very, very different. You wouldn't get shit like Two Hands to Heaven. You wouldn't get shit like Sweet Honey Buckin' if this was an album made to be embraced by that part of the establishment, or by the establishment at all. This was not any. That's why I have issue with the question of whether or not, what does she have to do to be accepted? Nothing. It's not the goal at all, at least for her. But yeah.
Man, it's like the meme of the dominoes, like how far back this goes. It's like this one little action, and here we are, at least 8 years.
All roads lead back to Matthew Knowles. What can we say?
Yeah. Of course, he came out not not very happy.
I was
about
shocked it was him and not Tina, because Tina be
people are ready for Tina.
Tina be sounding off.
I mean,
I'll be tapped in.
Tina's probably drafting her notes right
to
now.
your point, I've had the same thought that she anticipated this,
Yeah,
planned around this, and it was like a trap. It was
Mhm.
like this was like almost as if this was like leading up to this. Like, I'm gonna make this amazing thing. I know you guys aren't going to accept it.
Yeah.
And when you don't accept it, I'm ready to like move on to the next part
Yeah.
of this
Yeah.
plan. And well
I
done.
wouldn't be surprised if she completely forgoes submitting the album for genre categories at the Grammys and just puts all her eggs in the album of the year basket instead.
I was just gonna say that's sort of the
because
next
she's
question. of
not
this
getting a
conversation.
country album
Do it.
nomination.
I mean,
Pop
people
is-
think maybe Americana, maybe a little
Americana
bit
is
of this and
probably
that,
the
but
best
yeah.
non-pop bet, but it's like it's too country for me to put in an urban contemporary. Pop is just honestly where it might end up. They put The Gift in pop, so it's like maybe.
Yeah.
But that's such a competitive year this year, and then Americana, she's never competed in that category before, but you don't give them a chance to reward you in the genre categories, and your songs lose to a bar song. They're kind of forced to give you recognition in whatever's left, and that might be album of the year. So that could be a strategy that they're going for. But I wouldn't be surprised if by the time we get into the Grammy conversation in earnest, she's already into Act 3. Like, it seems like she's just on her own timeline.
Could be, yeah. But I mean, and the CMAs and Grammys don't always necessarily line up by any means. So, that's sort of one chapter of the story.
Yeah.
And like I said, coming up, I mean, next February is going to be packed. We're talking Super Bowl, and certainly where Beyonce is going to land in the Grammy nominations. And if this can be the one that takes it home for her, that's going to obviously be one of the biggest storylines to watch out for next year. So, we'll see what the future holds for Cowboy Carter. And man, it's like I said, February is going to be crazy. This going to be a back-to-back crazy weeks.
Can't wait.
But-
Short month, but a big month.
Big one. All right, before we wrap up, of course, we're going to do a quick lightning round just to give you a couple picks of some things that we've been spinning for the past couple of weeks, months that we, hopefully bring some more exposure to that we've been loving. So let's let Dame go first this week if you want to shout out.
Sure. So
Your-
I don't know
your
how
track.
exactly how old this song is. I came across it when I was looking for something else, and it popped up, and I kind of fell into like a rabbit hole of his and started listening to all his songs. I came across this, I guess you'd call it a song by Pooh Shiesty called CEO. He records it from jail. As we know, he's serving a 5-year sentence. He records it from jail, and he records it over the phone. It's not like a
You got a Tory Lanez?
it's not like a Tory Lanez situation.
Oh, he got the whole,
where,
the
he has
operation.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's recording on the phone from jail. It sounds like it. It sounds like an old '90s skit in like the audio quality. But I haven't heard from this guy in a while, and I think I forgot how piercing his lyrics are and how like arresting he can be. And I think him being away and doing this time has made that even more so. And this little song that he made, it's really good. And it makes me really excited for what he has in store if he gets out. I imagine he might get out with good behavior in the next few years. But the song's really good. He's talking about just like his day-to-day life in prison, which by most accounts could come off really bland or overly glamorizing of that life. This falls squarely in the middle. It's like stark realism, and he's like talking about things that I haven't heard a lot of people really talk about. It's what he does best. I think Pooh Shiesty was great because he would say things in such a plain way, kind of Jeezy-ish, that were so powerful and as I said, so arresting. And I think this is another example of it. It's called CEO. You can probably find it on YouTube. I think it's on a mixtape of his as well. Yeah, really good.
Yo, it's a lot of cats out here. Like the prison recording industry is
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's a wild thing. Obviously, we don't, that's never the goal for anybody to be recorded behind bars. But what people have been able to, put out in the past couple of weeks, just that infrastructure is insane.
And when I learned that Vibes recorded one of his biggest songs in prison, I was kind of blown away by that. That was like a big revelation for me. I don't know how he explained how he did it. He's like, he had a cell phone, he had an iPhone and an iPad. And he's listening to the beat off the iPad, and he's recording his vocals into an iPhone, and then he sends both to an engineer. and they put it together.
First, shout out to engineers, by the way.
Shout out to
You are
engineers.
Straight up.
like unsung magicians of the whole industry, like really. All right, Kyle, you want to walk us through yours?
My pick for this week is Smoke by Powers Pleasant, featuring A$AP Ferg and Armani Caesar. I love it because it's kind of just like
Armani Caesar,
generation bridging New York sounds. Kind of, you get like the legacies of A$AP Mob and Griselda on the same track, and the track, like, Powers takes lots of notes from like 90s hip hop and how booming the production is, but then there's these like echoes of drill with the snares. Then there's like a Jersey breakdown. There's a gospel sample in the beginning. There's like everything happening in this song.
There's a lot going on,
but it's so much fun. Like, and Ferg just has so much energy whenever he hops on a hook that it's just like you hear his voice and you just want to get up and get active, and that's exactly how I feel when I hear this song, and it just makes me hype, and I really like it.
We need more Ferg music.
We do need more Ferg music.
Like,
that's my guy.
That's I think of like hit makers. Ferg's a hit maker.
Yeah.
Like a rap hit maker. I miss the days when he was like dropping like new anthems like every 6 months.
Shout out Ferg.
Yeah.
Shout out Ferg.
I'm gonna wrap, I guess, the conversation up with my pick, which is Active by Asake and Travis Scott. Came out about a month ago from Asake's new album, Lungu Boy, which, I mean, if you haven't heard this song, I think it's just, obviously Travis brings any kind of energy to a track and just elevates it. I just love this track. I think it's just hype. I think it's a lot of fun. In particular, I'm excited for this because Asake feels like, if in the question of African music coming across to stateside in the past couple of years, we've seen obviously Wizkid break through with Essence in a major way. We had CK, we had Fireboy. It feels like for a minute Asake has been like one of the next ones who could possibly jump. And obviously with Travis on the track, that's only going to help, bring the exposure coming through. Debuted this week on one of our airplay charts on Rhythmic Airplay, so at number 40 right there on the anchor spot, so it's starting to creep its way up. So I think that this in particular could be a real breakthrough for Asake, and like I said, just sort of keep him in that conversation as maybe the next one who's able to jump from, he's obviously so major in Africa that maybe this can really take him global. It's doing well in the UK as well, so I just think that track in particular just has a lot of hype, a lot of energy. It's good for whatever you want it to be. It's really a great club song. I think it's a good, if you want to take the hook and just sort of, I'm active. It's like a little TikTok kind of sound there for it as well. So I just think it plays smartly in multiple lanes if you're really trying to make a hit. And, on the album as well, like Wizkid has a crazy joint with him as well. But seems like this is really going to be the one, and I'm hoping it does good things for him and just really elevates his star, because I think he really, has what it takes to make a big splash around the world. So, yeah, shout out to Asake and, of course, as always, Travis Scott, keeping things interesting. So
before we go, gotta say rest in peace to the legend Frankie Beverly, who passed away, age 77. Legendary singer, writer, producer from the legendary group Maze. He's just what a lot of us grew up listening to. He's like the sound of, I don't know, blackness. He's it.
Well, it's the jubilation, like in so much of those records that, it almost kind of feels like a lost time, when
his songs anchor communal experiences and communal moments, with cookouts, graduations, anything.
You think of Black Joy and like his voice
comes right through. And any grad, like I was at the Usher show last night, Before I Let Go comes on. It's just they're almost like, there really almost is no bad setting for that song. Like it just turns everyone's, attention on in a moment. You're right. It's just communal. Everyone just has fun, grooves. Obviously, Beyonce did the cover a couple years ago for Homecoming that helped really introduce it to a new generation of fans. But still, like, that record in particular, you want to talk about just on the short list of like Black greatest hits of all time.
Yeah.
That's got to be top 10 easy.
Go stream some Frankie Beverly and Maze today. This weekend.
Yeah, because Lord knows in these times we need it. Rest in peace, Frankie Beverly, 77. Also, if you want to read more about his life, I know Gail Mitchell wrote an excellent tribute and obituary on Billboard.com, so make sure you check that out. Really, someone who didn't get all his flowers at the time, not a lot of crossover hits and all that kind of thing, but just so integral to Black music. So make sure y'all check that out. I think that'll wrap up this week's episode of Billboard Unfiltered. So thank y'all for tuning in. And of course, we'll be back next week. See you then.
Peace.